Well, there's another bank that was in quite a lot of trouble recently, Metro Bank, and it's one that I have some interest in. I have a savings account, or I had, and a safety deposit box. I have now closed them, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you for why I decided no more for me, thank you, Mr. Metro Bank. I was a little bit worried, to be quite honest, and this is why. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble. Another bank is in trouble, Metro Bank, and it's one that I have some interest in myself, in that I had a security deposit box there, safety deposit box, as well as some savings accounts, which I have now closed entirely. I don't even have a single pound or penny invested with Metro Bank, and there are some very clear reasons why I have done that, and I want to share some of my thinking around that here today, which we can learn hopefully from as stackers as to what might be the best solutions for our own private stacks of silver if we are looking to protect things in a safety deposit box. How might that affect it if the bank itself was to collapse? And of course, things like savings accounts and insurance protection of the money that you've got invested with these banks. So lots to get through, and you'll have to excuse the slightly messy backdrop here. I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row, so to speak, for the live silver pouring that we're going to do this weekend. So for those that don't know, we're going to do a big, fun live silver pouring stream, and I'm going to be making some cool pieces as well as showing some of the new bits that we've been making lately, which are all here, and I'm just going to try and tidy up as we go. Also, 10-ounce silver Royal Celebration bar. Whoa! Beautiful. Anyway, more on that in just a moment. So, lots to get through. I hope you enjoy the video as we go. If you do, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and like our videos, and also subscribe if you're not already. And if you want to go a step further and support our channel and everything that we do have a very limited number of our 100-gram silver forum bars left, and they are up on our website right now. Links are in the description box below. So, with that said, let's have a little bit of a precious metal ramble all about Metro Bank. So, for those that don't know, Metro Bank, UK bank, it's one of these new banks that started, I think, about 12, 13 years ago to try and compete with the other big banks. They were wanting to do banking differently. And to a certain extent, I suppose they have done banking differently, but it's not necessarily been that favourable in terms of, well, liquidity. They were having issues this week, put it lightly. They were basically facing, I think, pretty close to collapse. So I, as a customer of Metro Bank, not just with a savings account, but also with a safety deposit box, saw the news. In fact, I didn't see it live. A friend of mine messaged me because I told him that I had a safety deposit box with Metro Bank, and he was like, have you seen the news? And I was like, oh, no, and I had a look. And it did get me very worried, I have to say. It did get me very worried about what would happen to the safety deposit box I had with them. So I got a little bit spooked by it. I decided that I was going to close my savings account with Metro, move the money into a different bank altogether. And now I didn't do that because I had too much money compared with the 85,000 FSCS protected amount for any bank that's regulated. I would, if I had some money in the bank as the time it went completely insolvent and died, I would have been able to get that savings money back. It just takes time and hassle and energy, and quite frankly, I have never been through that, and I don't really want to be through that, because it would mean that for a certain period of time, my money would not be available, which is, of course, not what you want at all. So I decided to close that and move it on to another bank that I think is less likely to imminently fold. Now, the same is also to be said for the reasons why I closed my safety deposit box. Now, safety deposit boxes are a bit of a mixed bag for people. Some people really like them, some people really don't like the idea of them. The idea of having your precious metals to hand at all times is important, but that's also got to be looked at in conjunction with the safety and security of your stack at home. There is a medium to be had, and I am a fan of long-term secure storage. There is no doubting that. So I have moved my security deposit box to a different organization that I feel is a lot more, liquid is maybe the wrong word, but a lot safer in terms of liquidity, I think, is probably the best idea. But it does raise some interesting questions for me as a stacker, as somebody who has precious metals, to think about that storage, to think about that availability, that liquidity. Do I need it immediately at all times, or am I somebody who's happy to have some available and some in that secure storage? And I think having that happy medium is a good thing. And When I went in to empty my box and to close the account, I was there, and I sort of, they were asking me the reasons why I was closing, and I said, well, to be quite frank, I got a little bit spooked by all of the issues that were happening with Metro Bank in the news, and the sort of cashier lady, or the lady that was helping with the safe deposit box. For those that don't know, you don't go to the cashier bench, you go to a separate little desk, and then they take you through the the arrival process and sign you in and everything. And anyway, I was going through that with her. All due respect to her, she looked in her mid-20s, quite young, and she was like, oh yeah, well, Metro Bank will never collapse, it's fine. It's just this blissful ignorance that got me really worried. And I can't take the face value of a 25-year-old, clerk at a bank over what I as a sort of stacker, collector, investor, and just person on this planet have observed over the last couple of years. There are banks that have gone bust very recently. Silicon Valley Bank is one in particular that we need to look at and say, well, what happened there is not good at all. So there is definitely an argument to be had of keeping your precious metals at home and keeping them out of risk of those things. So what was very interesting for me, though, was that the teller at this bank, the lady that I was talking with, I said, well, with all due respect, things might one day go bust for Metro Bank, certainly within the news. It's always a factor that I have to consider as somebody who has a safety deposit box here. I said, what would happen in the event that Metro Bank went bust and I had a safety deposit box? How would I be able to access my box? And they said, well, the first thing you need to do is that we don't own the contents of the box. And I was like, well, good, because I own the contents of the box. But they said, we do, of course, own the box. So access to the box would be restricted, and it would be at appointment only with the administrators of the business when they were called in to handle it. So again, this is a process by which you'd have to go through, similar with the FSCS protection for your cash. If you have money with a bank and it folds, then you would have to put a claim in with the FSCS protection scheme, and you would then get up to 85,000 back. But that's not at all protected with the safety deposit box. The contents of the safety deposit box with Metro Bank and pretty much every other institution that offers safety deposit boxes is not insured. It's not insured by that organisation unless you've taken out specific insurance with them. Metro Bank don't offer that. Now, I have had third-party insurance on contents of safety deposit boxes before. It is very important to consider that, because as secure as a safety deposit box is, they can be broken into. Banks can be broken into, of course, and we've seen even big examples of that with Hatton Garden Metals over in London a decade or so ago, the big Hatton Garden Metals heist, as it was. So these things definitely happen, and it's something that we all have to factor in. Now, if you're sort of like me and coming around to the idea of having some precious metals in a safety deposit box, is it something that you should be ultra concerned with every box? Well, I think ultimately I wouldn't have been able to not get my stuff, but there's an other element of risk that's involved there that I was not keen on. The idea of not being able to access things quickly if I needed them was a concern. The ability to perhaps have that security that's not quite there if the bank closes and there's no security involved, or if the administrators come in, they bring in new staff, you don't know who those staff are, what's going to happen with the contents of the boxes, could they be opened? There are lots of questions in my mind as somebody who likes to evaluate all of the different risks. So I like to think if in a different life I would have been, and here's a nice phrase, I would have been an actuary. Actuaries are those that will look at financial risk and reward and look at the different options, and they will then determine whether or not something is a good or viable option to take as an investment or as a strategy. And I think that would have been another calling in a different life for me. But that beside the point, I think it is important for people to understand the limitations of things like safe deposit boxes and banks in this modern world. We can't take anything for granted. And whilst I have got now a safety deposit box with another institution, it is always a worry that things won't be needed. And of course, if there was a complete brown stuff hit the fan scenario, like COVID again, for example, would you be able to access your box? Probably not. So the strategy is to think about and ask questions about whether or not you would want to have everything in a safety deposit box, or whether you have a certain amount in, or whether you have very little amounts in. I don't know. It's kind of a personal preference and a personal choice. And I do think there is no right answer for it, but I'd love to attempt to give a right answer for it, or at least hear what you guys all think for that right answer, and then we can work out what it is from there. So Yeah, that is my thoughts on Metrobank and its current situation here in the UK. So for those that maybe are banking with Metro or have safe deposit box with Metro, they are financially secure right now, but that doesn't really mean very much in this world where what they say, was it sort of 3 days from anarchy, I think, in this world, and anything can happen. You just got to look at Israel and Gaza at the moment just to see that anything can just erupt and go at a moment's notice. So, another quick shout out at the end of this video to Chards, who have, I say sent me, I purchased and bought this with my own money. So, the 10-ounce version of the Royal Celebration bar and the 1-ounce version from Chards, which is in good condition, unlike the one that I sent back to the Royal Mint. And for a little update for those that watch my channel, to the back end of those videos, I have now sent the 1-ounce bar back to the Royal Mint, and I've had confirmation that they've received it. I haven't heard anything yet. I have insisted on a refund for the bar that I bought from the Royal Mint because, quite frankly, I think it's awful that they sent out a bar that looked like that. And yeah, we'll see what they say. But the 10-ounce is brilliant. Bit of an expensive piece of silver, but it is good, and I love it. And I'll do a proper video showing it in all of its glory at some point in the future. But for now, we can just admire it, and it'll be in the backdrop of some of the videos yet to come out in the few weeks ahead. Lastly, you'll notice another Chards box here. This is actually one of the two. The other person that was in our first comment video on this to win it did not comment back, did not get in touch. So we've got one box still available to give away. So I think there's no better place to do that than the live stream that we're going to hold this weekend. So for those who are interested and are not subscribed, then make sure you hit subscribe. Otherwise, if you want to hang out with me on Sunday evening, it'll be around 7 o'clock when we start. I don't have an exact start time just yet, but around 7 p.m. UK time on Sunday, we will be doing some live silver pouring. We will be showcasing some of the products that we've made, like these little Kit Kat bars, these pirate rounds, and the Aztec pieces. Loads of stuff up for sale and available on Sunday. So it should be a really good fun thing. And also, for those who watched the silver pouring video I did just this last weekend, thank you very much for all your feedback. The bar that we poured in that video, this one here, will also be up for sale on that particular live stream. So lots to come, and it should be really good fun. A little bit sort of nervous about it because it's kind of a really big live stream, potential thing for me. I don't do very many live streams, and it's going to be probably like 3 hours long, I would think. So a little bit nervous how it's going to go, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be good fun, and I'd love to see you there. So head on over to my channel and subscribe if you're not already. Otherwise, set a reminder in your calendar for Sunday night. And if, as I said at the start of the video, you want to support our channel further than just watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, then you can by buying our poured silver. We've got just a few of these 100-gram silver forum bars left over on our website right now. All of the other stock you see here will be available on Sunday, so check that out then. Otherwise, that's it from me. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.